Welcome to this incredible workshop. I'm really excited about being able to share information with you about how to create eye-catching and effective commercial photos. So I always like to share my contact information with you. If you do have questions after watching the workshop, always feel free to get in touch with me. One of the bonuses that you're going to be getting with this is a PDF of the entire PowerPoint, so you don't have to write anything down that you're seeing here. You'll have a copy of it that you can go back and watch and get all the notes from. So let me start off before I even tell you about commercial modeling, here's an area of the business that I think it's really crucial that not only for commercial models, for actors as well, that you are very well aware of, because this can change your career. I know there are lots of actors and models who like to say, don't pigeonhole me, don't stereotype me, I can do anything, I have a wide range. Well, maybe you do have a wide range, but the fact of the matter is, we are always stereotyped. There are certain things that are right for us. There's some looks and characters that simply are not right for us. And it doesn't mean that there aren't some exceptions to the rule. Of course, sometimes there are, but typically you are going to get cast in a way that people view you, in a believable way. It is true, movie stars, they can break the stereotypes and play different kinds of roles, even if it's not super believable, because producers know that folks will still spend a lot of money going out to see them, or even sometimes with models as well. So as far as stereotypes go, let's go down this little list here. And if you were thinking that, let's say you're a casting director, and you're thinking, or you're a commercial photographer, and you're going to cast someone for this print ad who is a librarian, how would you actually view that person? So the very first thing I would be thinking of, number one, it's a woman. Now, of course, there are men who are librarians, and sometimes you will see guys in ads as librarians, but typically it's going to be a woman. And how do you see her? Well, once again, as a stereotype, she's probably going to be thin, she might be tall, wearing a long dress, her hair is tied back in a bun. And once again, I want to make this really clear. I'm not saying this is how all librarians look. They can't be absolutely beautiful, but we're talking about stereotypes, and that's the way advertising typically goes. So yeah, those are some of the stereotypes for a librarian. And how about a plumber? Typically you're going to be thinking, if you're going to possibly be, like, for instance, for me, I'm probably never going to get cast as a plumber. Yeah, maybe, but in over 30 years and 1,200 jobs, I've never been cast as a plumber. I just don't look like a plumber. I could own a plumbing supply company, that I could believe, but normally you think of a plumber, big guy, maybe a little overweight, maybe balding, big hands, tough hands. He uses his hands all the time. How about a judge? Now, that's something you could see me as. I certainly have auditioned for those kinds of roles. Serious, typically not warm, fuzzy kinds of characters. Intelligent, stern, someone who really knows, certainly knows the law. How about a social worker? That's another kind of look. Normally this is somebody who you would view as being caring, somebody who is warm, somebody who is fuzzy, somebody who is soft, someone who truly is trying to help the world, someone who's trying to help other people. And that has a very certain look. How about the bully at the school? If it's a boy, you might think of him as being, big, maybe a little heavy, really short haircut. Maybe it could be an athlete, but normally I'm thinking big, a little overweight, and is kind of making up for some of his deficiencies by, attacking other kids. The smart kid at the school, probably shorter, skinny, maybe has glasses. The reason why I'm going through this whole concept of stereotypes is because it's crucial that you understand how people view you, how they see you. And I'm not talking about this is who you are, just like I don't get it as much anymore, but I used to get a lot of jobs as the nerd, and I was really good at it. Doesn't mean I'm a nerd, but I can give that nerd look, and it got me a lot of jobs. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that you're understanding. I'm not saying that you are the bully, but maybe you can play the bully. Maybe you're not that smart, but you can play the smart kid at school. But it's crucial because once you understand how people view you and how people are going to be submitting you and what kind of jobs are you realistically going to get, then the next step is putting together the right photos. So you bang people over the head with the look. And that's the major thing that I'm going to be talking about today, teaching you how to put together effective commercial photos. So for me, when you look at me here, you're going to be thinking doctor, you're going to be thinking lawyer, you're going to be thinking teacher, you're going to be thinking therapist, could be the social worker. Those are some of the areas. Essentially, it's somebody that you trust, somebody that you care about, somebody who is friendly, somebody who's warm, somebody who seems intelligent. And once again, it doesn't mean that that is who I am, but that's how I'm perceived, and that's why it's absolutely essential you understand that. And I'm also going to be teaching you how to figure out how people view you and how you should be viewing yourself. So before I do that, let me just talk a little bit about what is commercial modeling. I want to make sure it's really clear for you. So as you are beginning to enter this field or trying to get more work in the industry, you know exactly what it's all about. So just really quickly, let me tell you what the difference is with fashion as opposed to commercial modeling. Essentially, in the fashion industry, these are very tall people. If you're a girl or a woman, if you're talking about being a supermodel. I'm not talking about doing some local runway shows. To be a supermodel, and not to say there aren't some, but very few exceptions in this world, you're going to be between 5'9" and 6 feet tall. Typically, your measurements are going to be 34, 24, 34. And you have to have a certain look. Every fashion agency has a certain look that they desire. And the reason for those unusual statistics is because the designers come up with samples in sizes of wardrobe that they think will look best. So basically, you, the model, has to fit into the sample sizes. They don't make the samples for the models. And you are a walking coat hanger. It's your job to make the clothing look interesting as you're walking up and down the runway. So for guys, you're going to be between 6 feet and 6 feet 2. You're going to be wearing a size 40 jacket. And for girls, just so you know, if you are over the age of 21 and you haven't already made it in the fashion industry, it's going to be very difficult. You have to get started at a younger age. Certainly, you have a long lifespan in there. And over the years, it's been longer and longer, but you do have to get started at a pretty young age. So for commercial modeling, we are the people that you see in every non-fashion ad campaign. You will see us on billboards, you'll see us on posters, you'll see us on sides of buses, in magazine ads, doing editorials, which are photos that go along with an article in a publication. We can be in a direct mail piece. We are on the internet. We are on packages. We are all over the place. And also, just so you know, there's no union for commercial modeling, so the fees vary pretty dramatically throughout the country. And it also is based on the usage. How is the ad being used? Is it being used in a high exposure format, billboards, posters, on the sides of buses, on the internet. Those are all high exposure formats. Just so you know, the reason why you typically get a bonus on top of whatever you're getting paid for the day is because you can actually lose work being in a high exposure format. Now, you want to be in a billboard. It's neat to drive down the street and see yourself up on a billboard. But what can happen is if you are on a billboard, in your state for a specific bank, no other bank is going to hire you because you are so closely connected with a competitor. The other thing that can happen is you can get overexposed in a market. And you could be up on these billboards for banks. There could be a local restaurant that might say, yeah, this person is perfect for this ad, but I've seen her all over the place for those bank billboards. So for those two reasons, you typically will get a bonus on top of whatever you're getting paid. And every project you get paid a different amount. There are some areas where there are general ideas as to how much you will earn per hour, or sometimes you just get a day rate. Like for instance, the going rate in New York City is $250 an hour for adult commercial models. I can also tell you it's rare that you get $250 an hour anymore, but you might get 200, you could get 175. It varies, once again, from project to project, and sometimes you just get paid by the day. So that's what commercial modeling is all about. So to help you find ideas, because what you want to be doing is, number one, there are two parts to this. One is figuring out your type, and you also want to create test shots. Those are sample photos that you'll be using on your website, your agent's website, or whatever company's website that you are using to help promote yourself, or where your agents are helping to promote you. So there are a number of ways of doing this. One is you can go to a bookstore and start looking through tons of magazines, and go through magazines that you think would be right for you. So if it were me, I'd be going through some business publications. And I'll find business magazines that will have tons of ads with people in my category. Doesn't necessarily mean you look like the model, but it's in the right category for you. You can go to libraries as well, and you will find tons of photos, tons of ads. And then what you're going to be doing is, because you want to create these photos that actually look like ads, you don't want to do what most people typically do when you're first getting started, or even for people who've been in the industry for a while and they just haven't figured this out, because it takes many years. By watching this workshop, you're going to be saving yourself years and years and years of guesswork and trial and error. And so what you want to do is actually create these photos that look like an ad for a specific company without using any logos, without any brand names in the shot. And I'm going to teach you how to do that as well. So along with finding ads that will be your blueprint for your future photo shoots, and once again, you're not stealing the idea, you're not copying that, you're getting ideas from these existing ads. You can also go to stock photography websites. And I do need to just take a moment here and tell you a little bit about stock photography. I don't do stock photography. I also never tell people what they should or shouldn't do. Many years ago, I did a couple of stock shots, but they were very specific ideas for photos that I really wanted, so I did them, but I wouldn't do them anymore. And there are lots of models who do stock photography, but I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of doing stock photography. Basically, a stock shot is a generic photo. Stock photographers come up with these ideas for photos that can be used for an ad campaign. And then what they do is they upload their photos, these stock shots, into stock photography websites. And here are 3 big stock photography websites. There are many of them, but here are 3 big ones that you can use. And then what they do is they hope that people rent their existing photos for their ad campaign. And so they hire models to be in these stock shots. And typically in New York, you might get paid around 75 an hour for doing a stock shot, and which is still pretty good. It's nowhere near what you would get if it were an ad, but since these are being done on spec, the photographers have no idea if anybody or how many people will actually rent them, how much money they're going to generate from the shots. So that's why they pay the models, much less than they would if it were an actual ad. But once again, those fees can vary, throughout the country. So the advantage for models to do stock photography is, number one, you will get paid, which is great. The other thing is, hopefully you can get a copy of the shot. And this is going to be a great shot. The stock photographers put together really slick looking photos that look like ads. Now, sometimes in these photos, they will only be able to really look like an ad if there are headlines that helps explain what's going on, or there's copy, words in there that also helps explain, or maybe there's a product that's being shown in there. But anyhow, that's why a lot of models do stock photography. You do get paid and you'll get a copy of a great shot. The disadvantage and some of the problems with doing stock photography is, unlike doing a regular ad, where you will know before you even accept the job, and it's one of the questions you need to ask your agent. As a matter of fact, in my book, How to Become a Successful Actor and Model, which you can find on my website, you can either go to howtomodel.com or howtoactandmodel.com. It will take you to the same place. There is a release form that you will sign at the end of every modeling job, and there are changes that you're going to make, but you'll read about it in the book. And once again, you can find it on either one of those websites. When you do a stock shot, you cannot make the changes that I highly recommend that you make in the model release form after a modeling job. For a stock shot, you will sign this release form that is giving the photographer permission to use your image any way he or she desires. They need to, because they need to be able to rent this out anywhere, whether it's on billboards, whether it's part of a TV commercial, whether it's a newspaper ad. It doesn't make any difference. They need to be able to rent it everywhere. So the problem is, you don't know where your image could end up. And you could be in an ad campaign for a disease that you don't want to be associated with. You could be in an ad campaign for a company that you don't want to support. And there have been some real problems with people doing that. They can alter your image in ways. As a matter of fact, there was one where it was for the American Diabetes Association, and they actually took the leg off of the model because they were doing this big campaign about some of the well, there are a lot of downsides of having diabetes. One of them is you can actually have body parts amputated if it's bad enough. So they made this model, who also is an actor, look like he had one leg. And he was very concerned about that, about it affecting his career. Once again, you have no say in this. The other potential problem with doing stock photography is that you don't know where your image is being used. So if you are up for possibly doing an ad campaign for an insurance company or pharmaceutical company, and they ask you, do you have any conflicts for, let's say, blood thinner medication? Well, you will know what ads you've done. You can honestly say no. But if you did a stock shot, you have no idea, because they don't tell you where your image is being used. You get paid that one fee, and then they can use it, for the rest of your life and beyond, and you don't get any more money, and you have no idea. So anyhow, there are problems with that. But anyhow, the reason why I'm telling you about these stock photography websites is because it's an incredible way to get ideas for your next set of photos. So let me just show you here really quickly. I want to take you right to a stock photography website. And this one is called PhotoSearch. It's one of the ones that's on the list. And what's so great about all of these stock photography websites is, for all of them, you can do a search. So let's say you think that you could be cast as a teacher. So you want to create a shot that looks like an ad where you look like a teacher. So let's do this. Let's put in teacher, And now it gives you all different kinds of teachers. So let's do teacher student. So we'll do that, and we're going to do a search. And look at these shots. Some of these, once again, like I mentioned before, some of these shots really won't work. Like for instance, a shot like this. This doesn't really work so well as a teacher shot unless you have headlines and words explaining what's going on. This is a great example of a shot that would be perfect. This is also an interesting kind of shot. This is an interesting kind of shot for a teacher. Here's another one that's really good. I'm going to open this one up a little bit. And as you can see here, as I mentioned before, they rent out these shots depending on the usage, depending on the size. But this would give you a great idea of how to set up a shot that looks like an ad where you're the teacher. And you need to bring in props for the shot. So the props are the child. That would be a prop. He's got a pen. He's got paper. There are a few other writing. I guess those are other pens. I'm not sure if that's an eraser. I'm not sure exactly what that is. And you've got the blackboard in the background, or you can have a whiteboard, depending if you have access, to a school. And she's, looking over the work, and you can do tons of different kinds of shots. Maybe, it's a frustrated student. Maybe it's somebody who just did something that was great and you are really happy about it. There are many, many different ways. So you can do searches for any kind of shot that you are thinking about putting together. Okay, so let me just go back here and show you. So here are a number of different stock photography companies, and what you're going to do to get some ideas for, number one, how you can see yourself. And once again, you don't have to look like the model in the shot, but you do have to honestly say, yeah, that's a shot that I can do. That's a shot that's right for me. And then you're going to borrow ideas, or if you want to create one on your own, that's fine. And you have to, basically, you are producing these shots. You're going to decide on, the images. You're going to decide on the expressions, on the emotions, which I'm going to be telling you about in a little bit. The location of the shoot, which is really crucial because that will help determine which shots you can actually put together. And if you're just getting started, if you could put together 4 commercial photos, that would be incredible. And typically on a composite sheet, which is the main selling marketing material for a model, you have a headshot on the front and maybe 4 photos on the back. Or if you're just shooting some photos to put on a website, that would be great. And you'll do one at a time. These things do take time. You don't want to try to slam 4 of them out in one day. That might be a little bit difficult. So anyhow, using stock photography websites is a wonderful way to come up with ideas. So like I was mentioning before, you want to make your photos look like ads. So when somebody looks at it, they can immediately say, oh yeah, that could be an ad for this product, or this product, without using logos or brand names. And also don't forget, your wardrobe is also really important. Your wardrobe should be like nice wallpaper in these shots. It should enhance the image, but you don't want people staring at it. If somebody looks at your shot and says, oh, I love that jewelry, love the earrings, love the necklace, love the blouse, whatever it is, that's a problem. That means they're not really looking at you. So the wardrobe should really just make that character stand out more without people really noticing it. The other thing is you want to show a wide variety of expressions and emotions. So if you have 4 photos, 4 commercial shots, make each one look different, because typically what people do at the beginning of their career is they will do the same look, the same kind of smile 4 different times, maybe 4 different kinds of wardrobe, maybe 4 different locations, but essentially it's a very similar look. You want to give very distinctive looks 4 ways. And the reason why that's so important is so that you can be seen as someone who has the ability to show a wide variety of looks. That opens up the doors for so many more shots for you, so many more ads for you. Because if you just have that one look and it's a variation on a theme, but basically it's the same look over and over and over again. When they need that look, yeah, you'll be considered for it. But if they're not sure if your look is perfect and you can show them, yeah, but I can do a lot of different things, then that makes you more marketable. And you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about very shortly. So I want to show you very quickly here a technique that I put together that will help you make your photos come alive and jump off the page. You don't want to just smile, stare into the lens of the camera, and look like a model. That's not what you want to do in these commercial shots. You want these photos to look believable, to look interesting, to grab the attention of people looking at it in a believable way. So like for instance, if you have to show that you just hit the lottery and you just won $1 million, well, you've got to really be able to pull that off. If you look like, or if you need to look like you've got a horrible cold, well, you've got to be able to pull that off. If you were just proposed to and you're about to get an engagement ring, well, you've got to pull that one off too. So to help you be able to recreate the emotions that are needed and do it in a believable way, here's what you want to do. Very first thing is you're going to be deciding, and actually at the very end of the workshop, you're going to get a homework assignment, and you're going to learn how to do this and practice this on your own. So very first thing is you're going to know what kind of emotion you need to bring for this particular shot. You're going to be thinking of a real experience in your life, and you will have already practiced this 1,000,000 times so that you'll be able to pull it off very quickly. So you know what you need to show. Think of a real experience in your life that will give you that emotion. It doesn't have to be the same one. Like for instance, if someone just, this is an ad where someone just proposed to you, well, if this is your first engagement, well, you don't have anything to really base this on because it hasn't happened to you yet, if you're single. So how do you know how to do it? Well, then you have to think of something else in your life that will give you the same kind of emotion, the same kind of feeling. Then what I always do is my body's in the right position of being shot, but I'm not ready yet. I need a second. I will slightly turn my head away from the camera. Sometimes I will physically put my hand up and just say, oh, can I just have a second? Then what I will do is I will say a word, maybe 2 words, maybe just make a sound. Whatever it takes for me to be able to relive that experience for the emotion that I'm trying to grab, and then bring it back up to the camera. So it's slightly looking away, saying a word or 2 or making a sound, and boom, coming back up here. That is how you can create the right emotion, bring it back. And what's beautiful is your brain, once you're really feeling it and it's believable for you, your brain will tell your body what to do. So if your hands are going to move in some position, you don't have to think, oh, I'm feeling like I'm in love. Should I put my hands here? Should I be like this? Should I be like this? Your body will just do it naturally. And that's what you want to have happen. So look away from the camera, create the right emotion by saying a word or 2 or making a sound, and then looking back up into the camera. Now you don't want to shift your entire body around and fly back into it. It's just a slight move away from the camera, letting the photographer know you're not ready. You're not doing a monologue away from the camera. It's like a second, maybe 2 seconds. Oh my gosh. And then you come back up. That's how you do it. So let me show you some real commercial modeling jobs that I've done where I use this technique. And this way you can really see it in action. So for this one, this was a national ad campaign for an IMAX movie called Antarctica. And the photographer mentioned to me, he goes, look, in this particular project, this movie is so realistic, you feel like you are there. Now, in Antarctica, it's freezing. I mean, it might get up to 32 degrees in the summertime. So I want you to look like you're freezing because you're going to feel like you're in Antarctica. However, we don't want people to think that they're going to be uncomfortable watching this movie. So I want you to look like you're freezing, but you're having a good time. So at first I was thinking, well, that's a little hard because if I'm freezing, I'm probably uncomfortable. I'm not having a good time. So how do I make this happen? Oh, okay. So maybe I'm playing with my family outside. So I would look away. I would say a word or two. Would bring back times where we're sledding or just playing around, and then I would come back up. And then after about maybe 10 minutes, they completely changed the concept. Hey, so this time you're watching this film. It's so realistic and it's so interesting. You don't even realize you have penguins. You've got icicles on your chair. Your face is windburned. You're just staring and watching this movie. So all of a sudden we switched it. Then they just to try things out, you're frozen solid. So we were trying out all different kinds of ideas. That's why it's crucial you really work on this technique, get it down so that you can use it not only for your test shots, but also when you're actually hired and on the job. And this is actually a sample of the shot that they used that was done at the very, very beginning of the shoot. Guy was freezing, but he was having a good time. So here's another example. This guy is frustrated. Once again, this is an old shot of me. And for this particular one, I had to think of a time, because it's basically, it was a national ad for a bank, get the monkey off your back. Well, I had to think of experiences in business when things were frustrating for me. And I wasn't thinking, I've got a monkey on my shoulders here. I was thinking of, I've got problems with work. And that's when I, looked away, and then I'm looking up, and you can see the frustration, and it's a believable look. And when you use this technique, you can see it just changes your look dramatically, and you become a chameleon, and it opens up the doors for many, many different kinds of looks. So here's another good example. Here's another kind of frustrated business guy. It's different than the one with the monkey on my back. And I went through lots of different kinds of frustration as a business person for this particular job. Everything from pretty subtle, and then I would start to build it up to the point where I was ready to just throw all these papers off of my desk, just swipe the desk and, throw things out the window. And that's what you also want to do when you're actually on the set. Give people lots of options. But when you're doing these test shots, once again, you're going to show a number of different kinds of looks within the session. So you have choices as well to figure out which ones you think will be best for you. Another kind of way of grabbing the expression, you look at this and, you might be thinking, oh, this could be for an air conditioning company. It just happens it is a real ad. But this could be a test shot. Now, this would be a difficult test shot. I can tell you it was freezing. I really was in a bathtub filled with ice, and it was really cold, but it's a good kind of look. Once again, if you're going to do a doctor kind of shot, this probably isn't the kind of shot you're going to be doing. But what I also wanted to just show you here is that when you are using this technique, you can look different from shot to shot to shot. Now, this is great. It just so happens this is an ad. It was for chiropractors. It was on a brochure for the chiropractic lifestyle. And essentially, most of the time when people are thinking about putting together these test shots, everybody thinks, well, I want to look great. I want to look beautiful in these shots. Well, if you have that kind of look, and that's right, and you can incorporate it into a specific shoot where it looks like an ad, that's wonderful. But even if you do have that look, you should consider something on the other end of the spectrum. Do a shot where you look sick. There are so many ads out there throughout the year where they hire and cast people and shoot people who have the ability to look sick. It can be anything from a serious disease for a pharmaceutical company. It could be something as simple as a headache, could be allergies, could be hay fever, could be migraines, could be a cough, it could be a virus. It could be a million different things. But what I also like to do, and I think this is really important, look, photographers might be very creative people, and maybe they could see somebody who looks absolutely beautiful in 4 shots as somebody who looks sick. Maybe. But maybe if it's for a pharmaceutical company, maybe the person who is making this medication, these pills, maybe they aren't so creative. So what I like to do is bang people over the head with the look, so that if they need the sick person, there I am. And you can look at that and you go, yeah, that person could do sick. And you'll see many other things, that I can do. So always consider doing a 6-shot, just because you see these kinds of photos year round. Here's a different kind of 6-shot. This one happens to be for people who have bad livers. It's a new kind of product for people with bad livers. And the whole concept of this ad was you can't see your liver, so you don't really take care of it. And so what the makeup artist did, and she was phenomenal, she made my face look like a bad liver. And that is what a bad liver looks like. And so I gave many, many, many different kinds of looks during the session. Everything from, I think I might be dying in here, to I'm just giving up, to I'm angry about this. Why is this happening to me? Feeling depressed. And once again, these are really interesting kinds of shots. Now, you're not necessarily going to do something this elaborate, but I just want to give you some ideas of different directions that you can go in. So here's a different kind of doctor shot. And this happens to be, a real ad, but you could set up a shot as a doctor as well, if that's right for you. And what I would definitely be doing is setting it up. Now, I wouldn't have the other person so prominent if I'm doing a doctor shot, and you'll see this a little bit later with some samples that I have from actual magazine ads. You want to be really more of the focus of the shot. Now, here's an interesting shot. I'm over here and I'm throwing Johnny Depp out of the courtroom in Cry Baby. And the reason why I wanted to show you this, it's hard to see, but here are his tears, and they use something called glycerin. God, we all look very young in that shot. They use something called glycerin, and that's how they created the tear. It's like clear syrup, and the makeup artist can place it anywhere on your face, and it will just stay right there, which is great, and which is what they needed here. If you are doing an exercise shot, and once again, if you have the body type for that and you think that's a strong selling point for you, then you should do some kind of exercise shot. And if it's a shot where you just finished a great workout, then what you want to do is you're going to have some perspiration. Your hair is not going to be perfect. You do not want to use glycerin. And the reason is, if it does get into your eyes, it's going to burn. It's going to be a horrible, you're going to have a horrible reaction to it. So what I always recommend, if you're going to do any kind of exercise shot, then where you should be perspiring, then either run around, either if you're outside, run around there, or in the studio, or get someone to spray you with some warm water. And that is how you can create the perspiration. Make sure it's warm water. Cold water does not feel good. But as you can see here, this is a very different kind of look that I have. And once again, it's using that technique. This also is a very different kind of look that I was able to create. I'll just move on from that one. But here's also a good example. Normally, you don't think of me as being a rock grunge guitarist for Molson Beer, which is what this ad was for. But with the right makeup, with the right wig, I also had somebody spray me with warm water, and I also had music playing, some rock music playing in the background, and I'm just screaming. This is exactly what I mean by showing a wide variety of shots in your portfolio or on your composite sheet or on the websites, and that is how people can see, even if the specific look that they need is not shown. Still, they're going to be able to look at it and say, yeah, but this person can do a lot of things. They have a wide range of looks. I think we can hire this person. And that's exactly what happened for this particular shot. Really quickly, I just wanted to mention, since we're talking about commercial modeling and photos here, you need to learn how to put together your own makeup. You don't have to do special effects makeup like this. I mean, it's kind of weird to see what you might look like at 80, but it's not unusual to be told, just come makeup ready, meaning that you've already done your makeup, you're come camera ready, and they're ready to shoot you. So you do want to learn how to do basic makeup for the camera and have makeup that is specifically made for the camera, not just regular everyday kind of makeup. And you just want to be able to make your face look like an even palette so that if something is growing on the side of your face and it wasn't there the day before, you can cover it up. Or if there's something under your eyes, you need to conceal it, you can do something basic like that. Actually, for a project like this, they hire special effects makeup artists, and sometimes, like for instance for this one, it took more time getting in and out of makeup than it did to actually do the shoot. But here's a good example of another kind of look. This is a lottery thing. Now, you could set up a shot like this. You're not going to have, these things in the background, but that could be an interesting shot, if you want to show that. And that could also open up the doors for different kinds of shots where they need somebody who can really show a lot of emotion. But like I mentioned earlier about how, sometimes if you knock people over the head with the look, it will open up the doors for other jobs. Well, here's a perfect example. So here's a shot. I'm excited. And then look what happened. I booked another lottery. And this one actually was a higher amount. But, they saw the other shot and they said, yeah, this is the guy. So anyhow, that's why I think it's really helpful to bang people over the head with the look. Once again, different kind of shot. Now this is a good example. It is showing a different kind of emotion, but this in itself does not necessarily look like an ad. Like, I'm not really sure what this is an ad for. It is an ad. It's a pharmaceutical ad. So when they added in the headlines and the copy, the words in the ad and the product itself, yeah, then it became an ad. But this would not be a good one for you to set up for some of your test shots, even if you're trying to say, well, I can be the mom or I can be the child, because it doesn't necessarily look like an ad for a specific product. And once again, this is another good example. I would, even though this is an ad, and it's a pharmaceutical ad shot up in New York, in Prospect Park, I would not use something like this because, once again, you look at it and you go, okay, well, the guy could be a husband, or if it was for the woman, she could be a wife, but it doesn't look like an ad for a specific product. So I would not use something like that unless, it was you actually had the ad. But I'm talking about setting up these shots so they actually look like ads. And I'm just only going to spend a second on this just because we're talking about commercial modeling. So this is my hand, and I do get some hand modeling work. And there are lots of different kinds of body part models. There are hand models, foot models, leg models, eye models, hair models, teeth models. And so if that's something that you think is a strong selling point for you, if you're just getting started, I wouldn't have a separate shot just of your hands or just of your legs, but you can incorporate it, in the shot so that people can see that you have a good body part or body parts. And this is also just the last example that I wanted to show you of being able to use this technique and getting a variety of expressions and emotions. So this is another lottery ad, but this is a Valentine's Day one. It's a very low-paying one, but this is what happens when you get chocolates. But then I had to make a quick change. This is what happens when you give her flowers on Valentine's Day, but when you give her the Pennsylvania lottery, watch out, because you can see what happens there. Okay, so I went through some magazines, and just to get some ideas, just to show you about the process. So this could be a great example of a shot that you could put together if you think that you should be booked as the mom or a business person. And once again, let the professionals give you concepts of how to create your next test shot. So when I look at this shot, I'm thinking, oh, well, this could be an ad for daycare center. nursery school. Maybe it's an ad for a specific product that makes work more efficient and it allows you to spend time with your family. But she combines two ideas in here. She's the mom and the business person. I think this is a great idea. Now look at the props. The props are the child, maybe the ball in the background, some of the pictures up here. So part of the question is, do you have access to a daycare center? Do you have access to a child where you can set up this shot? Her wardrobe makes sense. She looks like a business person. And I feel the love between them. Look, I don't even know if they know each other, but it has a very, very nice feel to the shot. This is also, it's an interesting kind of shot on Valentine's Day. It's a cute shot. Here's another example of a great idea. And this is exactly what I was talking about before. In the shots that you're going to be setting up, you don't have headlines. You don't have the copy. You don't have the product or the logo. You're just going to have the shot itself. But this shot, just by itself, looks like an ad. I mean, it is an ad, but this is something you could set up as well. Now, if you were the driver, and now look, you don't have to flatten a tire in order to make this thing work. You could have your hood up and you're on the side of the road. And this would be a look of frustration. Maybe you're angry, you're disappointed, you're going to a major event and you're stuck on the side of the road. So this could be for a tire company. Maybe they make these certain tires that don't go flat. Maybe it's for a roadside service. Maybe it's for a body shop, mechanics. It could be an ad for a lot of different things. So anyhow, I think this is a great concept for an ad. Once again, if this is the right kind of look for you. Here's a doctor idea. Interacting, pediatrician, interesting concept. Here is an old test shot that I created. Just like in the ad with the businesswoman and the mom, I thought I want to set up a shot where I look like a business guy and a dad. So brought in props. It's a very, very old shot. And so these are my kids. I had a woman come in to play my wife in the shot. It was another model who also needed a shot of her as the mom. So we worked out a deal. We both, were able to just exchange the shots. She could use it, I could use it. So it worked out really well. And I was thinking this could be an ad for life insurance. Maybe for the times you aren't going to be there, maybe for big brothers. I thought it could be an interesting idea for that as well. And it puts me into the category of the dad and the business person. And here's an even older shot. Once again, this is exactly what I want to teach you, how to create great test shots. And for this one, once again, I hired my son. He didn't charge me very much. And I hired a photographer who did charge me, but set up a shot. I wanted to get booked as the young dad, and this is it. I mean, this sets it up perfectly. And once again, the question I always ask: who is this an ad for? Well, without a doubt, this could be an ad for 529 plans. Start saving up for college education. Maybe this is an ad for a reading program for infants. And you've got to start early. And as it turns out, it was a very effective shot for me. I started getting more jobs as the young dad. So bang people over the head with the look. Show a wide variety of expressions and emotions. And make the shots look like real ads. Bring in props to make the shot look real. Here's a pharmaceutical ad. This is a great idea. Now, if you were setting up a shot where you were injured, doing some kind of exercise, I would do something a little bit differently, only because, it looks like she probably should be showing off her body in the shot because it's a selling point for her. It looks like she's in good shape. But with this particular setup, you don't see her body as well. So for the ad, because this is a real ad, it makes sense. This is what they wanted because it's the product that they're selling, not so much the model. For these test shots, you are selling yourself. So you just want to make sure that you are seen very, very clearly. And here's another really interesting ad, something that some of you could potentially do. It happens to be for a jewelry company. But, you could be the tutor. Maybe you're the mom, and you're helping your child with homework. So anyhow, it's another really good idea. And this is what you want to be doing. Here's another really good concept it's a pharmaceutical ad. The daughter's not feeling well. And once again, if you are playing the mom, if this is a shot for you, I would certainly angle things differently so that the camera is focused more on you and it's not so much of a profile shot, but it gives you an idea of how to set up your next test shot. And look at all the props in here. This could be an ad for so many different things, whether it's thermometer for some 24-hour doc in the box kind of place, maybe some kind of medicine. This is a great doc shot. So I'd cast her as a doctor any day of the week. I mean, it's an ad, but this also shows her so clearly. And like I was mentioning earlier, the patient is the prop and the focus is really on the model, and that's what you want to do. But this is a great idea for anybody here who's watching this who thinks that they should be doing a shot as a doctor. This is a phenomenal shot, and you just look at this guy and you know exactly what's going on here. So here are the headlines that you're not going to have. Here's some extra copy you're not going to have. Here's the logo that you're not going to have. But even just this shot alone, the prop is the greasy plate. His wardrobe is perfect, nothing that really stands out, but it puts him into the category. He's a business person, and boy, he's got horrible indigestion. So that is a perfect example of creating a shot that can get you noticed, that could potentially get you jobs. So I had mentioned this earlier that I said was in my book, How to Become a Successful Actor and Model. This is the model release form. I just want to spend a second here because it's so important, and you could lose thousands and thousands of dollars if you don't know how to deal with this. At the end of every modeling job, you should be asked, not stock shot, but for every modeling job, you are going to be asked to sign a model release form. If you are a minor, you need an adult to sign it because it's a legal document. You always need to look for these words. I put them in blue here, where it says, in my book, it's in bold, made through any media, or they can use it for any purpose whatsoever. See, they need you to sign the model release form to give them permission to use your image in the ad. So you have to sign it. But you always want to find these words that I have in blue here, and you want to scratch those words out and write in there very specifically how your agent said the ad's going to run. So if you were told it's running in a magazine, you scratch those words out, you put for magazine only, then you initial it, then you sign it at the bottom. And just so you know, the model release form is much longer than this. I just condensed it so you get a general idea of what it's about. And so for the stock shots, you will sign the model release form, but you cannot make any changes. So anyhow, I just wanted to make sure you know about that. If you're going to get a copy of the book, you'll see it on page 74. So just to kind of wind things up here a little bit, very first thing you need to do is figure out your type. And to do that, so that way you know what shots are right for you. You don't want to create photos that aren't in your category that you're not going to be considered for, because then you're going to be wasting a lot of time and money and you're not going to get the results that you want. Figure out your type. And you can do that by going through magazine ads at libraries, at bookstores, going to the stock photography websites. Then you want to list the emotions that you are seeing the models showing in these ads on a sheet of paper and make them specific. And one of the bonuses that you're getting with this is I have a sample for you. It's just a short list, and you can add to it, but just so you see very specifically, having a category of happy. Underneath that category of happy on a sheet of paper, make it specific. Why are you happy? Hit the lotteries. Somebody proposed to you. You got into the college of your choice, whatever it is. But anyhow, you will have that as a bonus. And then what you want to do is start practicing. Start practicing trying to recreate the emotions that you're going to need in these shots. Think of real experiences in your life that will bring those feelings back to you. And if you, like I said, if you haven't experienced it, then you have to think of another kind of experience that will give you the same emotion. So like for instance, if you've never hit the lottery and you have no idea what it feels like to win $1 million, maybe, you won something at work. Maybe you were playing sports, you hit a grand slam and you won the game, and everybody's jumping up all over you. Whatever it is, then think of, a word or two, make a sound to be able to recreate that, slightly look away, and then come back up to the camera. And you can practice this by getting anybody to take some pictures of you. Just use your cell phone. And, do 7, 8, 9, 10 different shots of each emotion that you need to hit for these test shots. And then look at the pictures. Do you really believe that you just won $1 million in the lottery? Do you really believe that someone just proposed to you? Do you really believe that you are a teacher who really is caring and really wants to help the student? If so, you got it. And now you just need to find a photographer to do these shots. If you don't believe the photos, then you have to think of some different expressions and different experiences so you can get the right kinds of expressions to make it work. And by the way, for photographers, there are many different ways of finding photographers. You can go to meetup groups in your area and see if they have any photography meetup groups. If you go to meetup.com, you'll find it. You can go to, and once again, you'll read all about this in my book. But you can also go to an organization called ASMP.org, American Society of Media Photographers, and I would try to go to some of the assistants and see if they can, if they are interested in working with you. You can even, once again, you're just testing this out. You can ask some local agents if they can recommend photographers to you. And one other thing that you could always try, and I'm not saying this is necessarily going to work, but go to a local college or university or community college, see if they have photography classes and speak to the instructor. You can actually even show the examples of the shots that you want to create and ask the instructor, do you have any students who are interested in building their commercial portfolio? And look, just to put it out there, if you do, I assume you will find some students. Bring somebody with you, just because these are people you don't know about. They weren't referred to you, through an agent. You just don't know who these people are. So just make sure that everything is safe. And anyhow, just wanted to mention that to you really quickly. But I know people who have created an entire portfolio of some great test shots working with students. And the worst case scenario is the photos are not any good. But still, you'll be able to look at the shots and say, you know what, this looks like an ad. I like my expression. It's just that technically it just doesn't look very good. You need to find another photographer. So practice getting the emotions, finding photographer. Remember, you're producing the shot. You're going to have to find the location, the wardrobe, the props, knowing all the emotions. You're going to tell the photographer, this is what I'd like to do. Certainly you can listen to ideas and maybe they'll have some really good ideas for you, but you know what you need to accomplish in these sessions. And find real ads to give you guidelines, for your next session. And then make this thing happen. This doesn't have to take place overnight. It might take months and months and months to put a number of shots together. I wouldn't try to pile on many different shots in one day. It might be complicated. So do one at a time, and see if that works for you. But this is how you put together incredibly effective commercial photos. And this is what's going to give you your best opportunity to get work as a commercial model. Anyhow, this has been great. I just love sharing this information. Next month, I'll be putting together another phenomenal workshop for you that you'll be able to watch. Also, just to let you know, I do offer private mentoring sessions, and you can go to my website, howtoactandmodel.com/coaching. And you can also get information and order the book either at Amazon, but if you do get it at my website, howtoactandmodel.com, you will also get 2 free directories. One of them being a list, well, there's a lot of information, but in the industry information directory, you'll get a listing of 17 printing companies who can turn your photos into either headshots if you need that, or some of them do composite sheets as well. And you get another directory, which is great. You get those free if you order the book from howtoactandmodel.com. And if you have any questions, you can always get to me either through my facebook.com/howtomodel page, or you can just go to, just email me at Aaron, Aaron, at howtoactandmodel.com. Anyhow, I can't wait to talk with you again soon. See ya.